It seems to me that video games are the new religion, and I'm gonna provide you some evidence because to me there's no denying it. Okay, uh, I have. Let's just say I do a lot of research. I observe things for a long time. I've been observing this topic for a lot of years, and to me, it's pretty much over. We're too far gone. We can't go back. Okay, video games are the new religion. Every other religion that you can think of, any kind of belief, that is over. It's over with. They're old news. Now we're doing with a different kind of monotheism, which is video games. Okay? No matter, listen, no matter what kind of video you click on, it doesn't matter if it's a live stream, it doesn't matter if it's an influencer, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a VTuber. Usually, prominently, it is about video games, or it is a discussion around video games, or the main thing is video games, or somehow video games are gonna come from the woodwork, okay? And this is so striking to me. To me, it seems like, listen, I have observed this. People have nothing to talk about. People have nothing else to relate to. People get together and mingle and socialize on the premise of video games. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? This is serious. People don't understand how serious this is, okay? It seems like people don't have anything to talk about, and they're not interested in talking about anything that doesn't have to do with video games, okay? It's a chronic disease now. And people don't realize that this is some serious business here. Okay, serious business. Listen, back in the day, culture was diversified. People had so much stuff to talk about, no matter the subject matter. It was, an ocean. But now, with a few exceptions, it seems to me that video games are it. Video games have become the one culture that people relate to. People can only band together and harmonize with one another if video games are in the mix. Otherwise, it's people are not interested. Video games are the magnetic force that bring people together. Okay, this is the culture. This is culture in of itself. This is the religion now. Video games. And listen, I have to make this disclaimer before anybody comments. Okay, I have nothing against fun. I have nothing against, blowing off steam. I have nothing against getting together with friends and playing some video games. I don't have anything against video games. Okay? One of my favorite video games is Red Dead 2. But I have to say this. Red Dead 2 is my favorite game, not because of the gameplay. Okay, the gameplay is clunky as fuck. Whoever designed the gameplay in Red Dead 2 should be fired immediately from the industry and should never work in the industry ever again. Why I love Red Dead 2 is because of the characters and storytelling. Masterclass, genius, okay? And some video games are absolute genius masterpieces who tackle the most important subjects, philosophical, metaphysical, existential. They are art forms, of course, but those kind of games are rare, okay? They are rare. Most games are trash. But now it seems that no matter what comes out, no matter what kind of video game comes out, people will engage in it for no reason whatsoever. Maybe because it's ironically unironic. It's funny. It's a meme. Some video games deserve to be held on a pedestal. Most of them don't. And listen, video games should be played when you're bored out of your mind, when you don't really have anything else to do, when you just want to vent, you want to blow off some steam, you're tired, okay? You don't want to think, you don't want to do anything. That's fine. Play some video games, but now it is the thing, the activity, non-stop, every day, 20 hours, 10 hours a day, no break. Right? This is the one, and it's not a hobby. It's not an occupation. It is the one thing that keeps people going. And I think, in my humble opinion, that that's wrong. Okay? It's wrong. People, adults, should not spend so much time on video games. Okay? That's kind of goofy. Okay? It's kind of goofy. I don't mean to offend or insult anybody, but I think if you spend 10 hours a day playing video games as an adult, I mean, yeah, do whatever you want, but that's kind of goofy. Okay, it's kind of goofy. Like I said, I do some research. I do research, a lot of research. I follow certain channels. I follow this one channel. I'm not going to give them their names, okay, but I love these guys. They're smart. They're funny, okay? And, of course, their main thing is they play video games. Fine. The problem is that this is their job, okay? They stream video game playthroughs, okay? That's fine. And they do it every day almost, okay? It is their job. They do it for a lot of hours. But that's not enough, okay? They have stated themselves, they have confessed that when they're not, working for their job, meaning that they're playing video games for their job, when they have free time, when they are on vacation, they play video games. When they're traveling, they have their Steam Deck, they have their Nintendo DSs, they have their gaming PC or laptop, they have their, a tablet, they have their cell phones, smartphones. So even out of this, when it's not related to their job, these people still play video games constantly. They cannot stop. And listen, I understand passion. Okay, I understand passion. Right? My passion is reading and writing. But let me tell you, I don't do it every day. Okay? I'm the most passionate guy you'll ever meet when it comes to what I love. But to do it constantly, it becomes a chore. It becomes a hassle. You need to stay away from it for a while. You can't just, and of course, yet again, not to offend anybody, but I don't think that video games deserve so much attention that people should just play constantly. It's not enough that you stream on Twitch for God knows how many hours, 12 hours, but after you're done streaming, you're still gonna play video games offline, off the camera. Right? Even when you're traveling and even when you do other things, somehow you still manage to involve yourself in the video game, right? Thing. It's not normal. It's not normal. Again, some video games can be art, but people obsess over any kind of video game. For, it doesn't matter if it's a meme or not. I don't think that's healthy. For adults, and this is about adults, okay? I don't think it's normal, healthy for adults to be so infatuated with video games, okay? Listen, back in my day, in the 90s, okay, if you were over a certain age, let's say you were 12, 13, and so on, if you were of that age, and if you were playing video games, everybody would make fun of you, okay? And that may sound harsh, but I think that's correct, even though it might be a bit harsh, right? To me, it's a magical thing that people can make a living out of playing video games. To me, it's crazy that people can make some serious cash playing video games. If you can do that, then good on you. You're blessed. You're lucky. Okay, that's great. Okay, I mean, that sounds like a good life, but still, okay. Putting that aside, If you can make a living out of playing video games, that's fine. But still, it's a bit much when adults just can't stop obsessing over video games. Okay? And this is why I say that video games are the new religion. This is the one and only culture now. The one and only religion. The only thing that people can relate to. This is what people talk about. They don't have anything to talk about that's not related to video games. They're not interested in interacting with another person if it doesn't have to do with video games, right? So human beings being human beings, is no longer a thing. It's no longer popular. It has to do with video games. Young people, instead of getting together and doing all of the wonderful things that make life worth living. You know what I'm talking about. First of all, you take off your clothes. That's a wonderful thing when people can get together and have that experience together, that intimate experience, whatever. Okay? Now young people, even adults, they get together and instead of doing, let's just call it human things, human pleasures that are normal and healthy and good, instead of being attracted to one another, as is normal and natural, people get together in the prime of their youths and they play video games and they stare at a big TV and they do this. They do this. This is what makes people passionate these days. Okay? To me, that's not normal. It's abnormal. Right? To waste the prime of your youth on this. But not only this, but hours upon hours of this, right? It's I don't know what to make of it. Okay? It's strange to me. And this is not a a discussion against video games. Far from it. Okay? I think I've made my case, but I think people should tackle things that are more important, that are more significant, that are more serious than video games. Video games have their place. Video games should never be number one. Okay, there are more important things that people should do and think about than video games. In my humble opinion, it's not normal. It's not normal that in the 21st century that video games are it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Video games are it. The one thing. The religion, the culture. There's nothing else, folks. There's nothing else. Maybe memes. Okay, memes are a subgenre that makes people passionate. Okay, and of course, I'll probably get comments, and you might say, it's a coping mechanism. People are coping. It's that copium, sucking on that copium. It's fine. It's fine. Do whatever you want. But I don't think, again, even if you have to cope somehow with this existential dread, whatever, I still don't think that video games should be it. I don't think video games should be, your anchor, your life preserver. I don't think so. I think, okay, this is gonna offend somebody, but video games are childish. They're juvenile if you cannot stop playing, if you cannot stop thinking about video games as an adult. It's juvenile. It's childish, okay? And this is not me trying to belittle you. Okay, it's just facts. It's the truth. Okay? To me, at least, it's unacceptable that young people in the prime of their lives, okay, in the prime of their lives, it will never happen again. instead of just experiencing all of the great things that life has to offer, okay? They can be little things. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to tell you what life has to offer, all of those lovely, amazing things. Instead of that, instead of going outside and doing something, enjoying yourself with another that you treasure, all right? Doing something that truly is worthy and valuable and precious. Instead of doing all of those things, young people in the prime of their lives would rather stay at home in front of the screen and do this or click, click, click. They would rather do that than just live, you know? Maybe because they're already bored. Maybe because they're not interested in anything. That's fine. But it's still unacceptable to me. Okay? And this is just a discussion, folks. Hopefully nobody will be offended by any of this. It seems to me that this has gone on for far too long. It has escalated and aggrandized to such a degree that it's overwhelming that it doesn't matter if it's big YouTubers, big influencers, or middle people, or even nobodies on the internet. No matter what this video is about, it has to be somehow about video games. Somehow video games are the only thing that people seem to be attracted to, you know? And I understand that you can immerse yourself and you are fascinated. Okay, video games give you the illusion and the delusion that you achieve something, that you're good at something, that you have talent, that you have competency. Okay, and I don't care what anybody says. Just because you press buttons good doesn't mean that you have a skill. Okay, you have good coordination, better coordination than most people. But that doesn't mean that you're skilled. It doesn't mean that you're talented. It doesn't mean that you're competent at anything. You're just pressing buttons. This to me is childish. That you imagine that doing this is some sort of aptitude of some sort. It isn't. Okay, this is the mindset of a child. Only a child can think that doing this is some sort of talent. It isn't. It isn't, folks. Okay? I don't care how, I don't care how good you are. You're still doing this, okay? And hopefully nobody will be insulted, okay? I don't want to belittle anybody, but I think we have gone far enough. And this is what I've been thinking about, what I've been contemplating and pondering for a long time is, you see, it seems to me that video games are essentially the only thing that give people any sort of meaning, any sort of purpose, even though it is a lie. Of course, it's not real. My question is, since video games are the one and only thing that seems to keep people alive, okay, video games are the only thing that makes life worthwhile for a lot of people for some reason. Okay, I keep asking myself, what will happen in the future, whenever that is, what will happen when video games will fail to tickle people? What will happen in the future when video games aren't that fun anymore? What will happen when video games will fail you and disappoint you if you are a gamer and if you only think about video games? I wonder what will happen when video games cease to entice people. I wonder what will happen when video games will no longer mesmerize and bewitch people. Okay, because video games are the only thing that keep people alive now. Video games are the only thing that keep people going. It's that copium. What will happen when video games fail miserably? And people will have nothing to hold on to, nothing to rely on, nothing to depend upon to stimulate them in some way. Because video games are the only thing that stimulate people nowadays. Okay? One day gamers, will wake up and find themselves alone, abandoned by their precious god, video games. games. And what will they do? Okay, this is an important question because, and I'm posing this question because video games are so relevant and important to a lot of people all over the world. What will happen when video games will fail to do what they have been designed to do, which is to create this illusion that you're doing something, that what you're doing matters? Okay, when the spell will be broken, what will people do? What will gamers do? Okay, because video games are the last frontier, the last bastion, the last haven for people to hide and be protected. Okay, video games are the only thing that seem to be fun nowadays. Nothing else seems to please people anymore, with the exception of video games. So what's gonna happen? Because listen folks, gamers, this will happen eventually. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows? But it will happen. Of course, you can already see the red flags of alarm that video games are are squeaky. They're creaking. Something ain't working. Okay? Something ain't working in the video game industry. It will all fall apart and crumble. Okay? And since video games are the only thing that keep people going, when they fail, I mean, what are people gonna do? Okay, this is an important question. What are people gonna do? Because obviously nothing else will suffice. Nothing else will placate. This will be an extremely dangerous time in the future for humanity, and I hope that I'll live long enough to witness it. It will be such a spectacle when the last darling of humanity will cease to tickle and titillate. Okay? And listen, what I have observed recently with gamers in general, okay? When an anticipated popular game comes along, you know, it's treated like a commodity. It is taken for granted. Okay? People don't even finish the game, and they're already thinking about what other games will be published soon. While they're still playing this game, they're thinking about other games. While they're playing this game, they're already thinking about the DLC. Okay? So it is this, what you might call it, they're taking games for granted. It's almost like they're constantly chasing the new thrill, even though they have exactly what they need. They're still thinking about other games while they're playing this game that just came out. They were waiting with expectation for this game. It's here. They're playing it, and they're already thinking about the DLC. They are already thinking about the sequel. They're already thinking about that next month other games will be published. And I'm just like, this is obviously an addiction. This is chasing thrills. And it is obvious that video games fail to provide that serotonin to the extent that it seems that video games do not satisfy, do not fulfill. Okay? Video games do not fulfill, do not satisfy, because it's obvious if you've studied and researched, the territory. I've seen people play, for example, the new Elden Ring DLC, and while they were playing it, they were already just kind of wanting to play something else, thinking about the second DLC, thinking about Elden Ring 2. And I'm just like, bro, you just started playing the DLC. You have exactly what you need. Why can't you just be happy with what you have? You have exactly what you were craving. And I've seen this in so many videos, in so many people. This cannot be denied. The statistics don't lie. Just like drugs, video games only sprinkle an iota of happiness, of excitement, of a bit of serotonin in the brain, and afterwards people are getting already bored and they want the next thing. This is the gaming industry. This is what gaming in general is. You start a game and you're already thinking about what other games you're gonna play. This is not normal. This is not healthy. You are deceiving yourself. If you think that the next game will provide, that fulfillment, it won't. The reason video games are so fun is because, again, they give you the illusion that you're doing something. You're gaining experience. You're upgrading this. You're doing that. You're collecting this. You're crafting that. Giving you the deception that you're actually good at something and that you're doing something meaningful. It isn't so. And video games should not be treated like they are the main thing that human beings in the 21st century should occupy themselves with. This is the problem. And I guess this is the main theme of this video. In the 21st century, human beings, their main occupation is video games, and the secondary thing are memes. Video games and memes. Okay? This to me is not normal. Okay? I mean, listen, folks. Listen, I understand people who actually, get out there and do dangerous things. Like they try every alcoholic beverage. They try every drug. They do daredevil stuff. They participate in orgies. At least those things are human. They're tangible, palpable. They're real, right? You're doing something in the real world, experiencing something that's a little more real than doing this by yourself or with others that do this as well. Of course, please don't assume that I'm trying to degrade gamers. Not at all, but you have to see my point, right? Right? People are wasting too much time on video games. It isn't normal. Video games should not be the main thing. The main thing. People will look back on the 21st century and they'll ask themselves, what did those people occupy themselves with? What did they do? What did they think about? Video games, memes. That's it. If this isn't proof that it's over for us. It's over. Okay? The darkest, most nihilistic, most fatalistic, futile thing that you can imagine. That adults who should be mature, instead of living their lives, all they did and all they occupied themselves with and all they thought about were video games. Okay, listen. This is the truth. Video games should be on the back burner. Video games should be something you do when you're just a bit overwhelmed by life. You're a bit tired. You're a bit bored. You just want to blow off some steam. Have some fun. Dick around. This is what video games were intended to be. Okay? Video games should not be all-pervasive, omnipresent, It just shouldn't be. And nobody can tell me any different. Okay? Video games are the one and only religion. Video games are the culture. Nothing else matters anymore. Nothing will ever matter again. Okay? Because video games are just too damn fun, apparently. Right? Instead of doing something more real, right? I understand somebody who does drugs, every kind of drug. I understand that. You actually feel something more, something more vicious, something more real than just, this. I understand a drug addict. I understand an alcoholic. I understand a nymphomaniac. I understand all of those things. I understand them. They seem to be a bit more close to reality, to humanity. Okay? I mean, think about this. the most wonderful thing imaginable that a person can do is find another partner and be together with that person and share, amazing moments together, being in that intimate, moment with somebody else, being attracted and being wanted and desired and all of that, all of those wonderful things, instead of engaging in that is true and that is wonderful. Instead of that, young people, instead of being attracted to, the opposite gender or whatever they fancy, doesn't matter. Instead of doing that, instead of partaking in what youth has to offer, the bounty of youth, the fruit of youth that is so normal, so healthy, so lovely. Instead of doing those things that are all so simple and basic and yet so divine, almost sacred, people getting together and loving one another, okay? Instead of doing that, young people get together, if they get together, and they do this. They don't even care about any sort of communion with another. It has to be about this. Video games are the bridge that bring people together, but they don't bring people closer in the sense that they trust and love one another. Video games bring people together in the sense that they're just doing an activity. This is a hobby. They talk about video games while playing video games. They think they think they have skills and they engage in competitions with their friends. And I'm just like, bro, this is okay. Let's face the facts. This is childish behavior. Childish behavior, juvenile. Adults should not do this. Okay, adults should not do this. Whatever your opinion might be, I think that we all share this basic knowledge, wisdom as human beings, as a species, when we contemplate things. Okay, I think we can all agree that video games should not be it. And unfortunately, video games are it, folks. They are a little religion. People pray to it. People worship it. Okay? It's undeniable. It's undeniable. Right? All of the other art forms, if you would. Music, poetry, philosophy, novels, literature in general. Right? Painting, sculpture, and all of the in-between, all of the niches. People back in the day, they used to have so many things to just be enamored by and to contemplate things and just appreciate the beauty. They brought people together and people got closer and became more real, more human because of the art. Art is here to elevate people by design, to make them better. And of course, there are certain video games that tackle serious topics that are absolutely peak, top tier. But still, I've seen this, that if a gamer is playing, of course, those popular gamers, streamers, they're playing one of these revolutionary video games that tackle philosophical, metaphysical topics, they're gonna skip the dialogue and they're not gonna pay attention and they're gonna talk with their chat instead of focusing on that scene, that exchange of dialogue that is so quintessential, so important. No, they're gonna skip or they're not gonna pay attention. Okay, so the gamers, the big boy gamers that everybody loves, they have millions upon millions of followers. They're not even paying attention to what's happening in this video game that they claim they love. Okay, there are exceptions, of course. I have seen this. Okay, video games to me seem to be the last morsel, the last crumb that people gravitate towards. When video games will no longer attract people, video games being the last the last torch that attracts people, it'll be a grim day for humanity. It'll be the darkest day. Okay, because people in general are not interested in reading anything, especially not books. People are not interested in, classical music. They're not interested in sculpture. They're not interested in complicated, profound ideas. There are exceptions, of course. Listen. In all my years, nobody came to me, it doesn't matter. Nobody came to me, an older person, a younger person, nobody came to me and said, listen, bruh, I've read this book. It just changed my perspective on things. It just changed my way of thinking. I'm different now. This book, you have to read this book and tell me what you think, because this book, it just changed me. Nobody ever told me that they went to the theater and they saw a play that just wowed them to their core. Nobody ever told me that they went to listen to an orchestra or a symphony and they just felt, energized, and their soul, their soul was raised to a higher frequency. Nobody ever told me this. Nobody told me ever that they went to a museum and they saw a sculpture or a painting and they were just caught off guard and they were shocked and perplexed and it breathed new life into them. Nothing of this has ever happened to me. Nobody ever came to me and told me any of these examples. Because people don't do, in general, with exceptions, the majority of people don't do any of this. Because all of these things are apparently boring now. So art, all of the wonderful things that should be cherished deeply, they're kind of passé, huh? They're kind of old news. They're kind of, ew, yuck, They're gonna be thrown out the window soon enough. All of the things that elevated mankind from the mud of barbarism. Now it's video games. And I would say that the majority of video games, with a few exceptions, the majority of video games are not worthy of your time. They're not worthwhile. Some have absolutely outstanding soundtracks and cinematography and voice acting and, stories and characters. Of course, those are the games that should be cherished. But not simply because they're games, because they are an experience of the highest order. This is what art in general should be, an experience of the highest order. Okay? The greatest music isn't just music. The greatest, painting or sculpture aren't just paintings and sculptures. The greatest video games of all time aren't just games that you do this, okay? There's something that they make you live in a superior way. They make you feel in a superior way. This is what video games should be. The best of the best. The masterpieces should produce this kind of effect in people. And from what I observe, sadly, video games are taken for granted. They're being treated like commodities and, like almost trivialities, generalized. Okay, so it will be fun for me to see what will happen when video games will be just tossed aside like everything else. Okay, because there will not be anything else after video games that people can rely on. Okay, but that's about it. Tell me what you think in the comment section, if you agree or disagree. If you enjoy this content, if you want to support your boy, I got a few books on Amazon. The link will be down below. If the link does not work, you can search my name, Griffith Samsara. Thanks for watching. See ya.